Huawei's premium tablet, the MatePad Pro 13.2, now gets its global release. This model I've been using for a week, and it is a stunning tablet with an absolutely fantastic display here. It's beautiful. Look at how slim these bezels are. And I'm not joking here, it's probably the best display that I've used in a tablet. Now, the 13.2 obviously stands for the screen size in inches, so it is a large display, but it's using a flexible OLED display here, up to 144 Hz the refresh rate, up to 1000 nits peak brightness, and it does support this here, which is their M Pencil, the third generation of it, with near-link support now, with improved transmission distance, bandwidth, and most important is the latency now, which is a lot better than the previous models. I'll be testing that out in this review, along with this here, which is our detachable magnetic keyboard. It just clips on like so, and we do have a kickstand for that too as well. So it is running Harmony OS 4.0, and it does have with this model here 12 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and it's powered by an octa-core chipset, the Kirin 9000S. Included with the MatePad Pro 13.12, you'll find our charger. Now, this is a supercharger from them, 88 watts, and I like the fact that it's got a Type-C port just below here, so you can use this to charge up other devices. For example, maybe your Huawei P60 Pro. Well, it's going to work with this because it does support their supercharge. And the cable included, this one is Type A to Type C. As you can see there, that's the C connection. And there is the Type A. And there is a bit of paperwork, but that is in Chinese. So the first thing you notice is just how incredibly light and thin it is. 580 grams, 5.5 millimeters here. That is fantastic for such a large tablet. So we've got 6 speakers in total with Huawei sound, up to 82 decibels. And it looks like we have just 2 either side. So you see that the other 2 are right here, but is in fact 6 in total. That is our power on and off. And going back here to take a look at this side, well, Type-C port with the 88 watts charging their supercharge, well, it can get up to 100% in 65 minutes. And 80% charge in just 40 minutes, 85% that is, sorry. So it's very fast, the charging there, and just excellent build quality. Now the frame around the outside here, this is made out of plastic there. On the top, we have 3 microphones, volume up and down buttons, and note that there is no micro SD card slot, there is no SIM tray slot, no Pogo port pins with this, and no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, unfortunately. So camera here, we have a 13 megapixel and an 8 megapixel ultra wide microphone, dual tone LED flash. So this is made up of a scratch and drop resistant glass fiber material on the back. It does feel very good, has a little bit of a texture to it, so it doesn't really show fingerprints that bad. You can occasionally see them. It's not a bad looking tablet. I do like the feel of it, and it does feel like quality. Even though this is a glass fiber on the back of it and the frame being plastic, it does not feel cheap at all. It certainly does feel premium. Then the star of the show, which is this flexible OLED screen. It really is nice. I think it's the best tablet screen that I have ever used. So they managed to fit a flexible screen in here, although of course the tablet itself doesn't flex, but it'll come in handy when you're pressing down hard on it, probably with that stylus. It's got a little bit of give in it, and it's not 100% rigid at all. So you can see the bezel's really slim. I mean, look at how tiny these are. They're only 3.4 millimeters. That gives it, according to Huawei, a 94% screen to body ratio. So we've got a 16 megapixel camera right here, a time of flight 3D for the secure face unlocking. That's also there, and 120 Hertz. The resolution of this, well, we are looking here at 2880 by 1920. So it's sharp. I don't see any pixels at all. It's very smooth at 120 Hertz. And the maximum brightness tops out at 1000 nits. And then our M Pencil stylus. So this is the 3rd generation now of Huawei's active stylus. It has a huge amount of sensitivity. It's 10,000 pressure sensitive levels, and it charges wirelessly. So you just need to set it on the top of the tablet like so. You can see there it is charging. Well, it's fully charged right now. And the magnet is strong enough that it's not easy going to just come off there, but it's nice and easy to remove. So it's not overly strong. And so they've got a good combination there of the strength of those magnets. So the other thing to point out too is it does have near link support, which is something that is also new. This is then our keyboard that you can get for it too as well. So it's a nice full-size keyboard. Typing on it is very good. It doesn't have any flex being flat, and it doesn't add much weight, as I showed you, to the overall package when you are using this tablet. And it doesn't add that much more thickness, a tiny little bit to it, but I think it's a welcome trade-off getting the hardware keyboard. So good size, good feedback from these keys, 1.5 millimeters of travel. However, it is not backlit. That's my only complaint. The touchpad is nice and large. It has a very nice smooth glass finish to it, and it does support gestures. So there's no pogo port pin connector. It uses this magnet here to clip on, and this is the other half of it, which is a kickstand style. So this just pulls out, okay, so you can get the different angles with it. And they've made this gap here, so that is where it's going to go when it is attached to the back, which I'll show you. So this just clicks on into place with the magnet like so. Now, how strong is that magnet? Now, I wouldn't normally do this. You wouldn't lift it and pull it around just with that, but you can see I can give it a bit of a shake. Strong enough for that, but if you do pull it back at certain angles, I've noticed that sometimes it's come off. It doesn't take too much effort to pull it right off, so that's why I recommend you don't go around just lifting it by the magnetic cover, which I would never do with other tablets anyway. And then that just clips on like so, the keyboard. It just goes into this area here underneath. Okay, magnetically, that is it, clipped it into place now. Okay, that's now secure. Do that again. You've got to line it up properly, and it's very easy to detach and remove that. And then you've got the whole package here is just like so, with it all together. So if you are going to be getting the keyboard, well, this is the weight you're looking at with the tablet, which is 580 grams, and now total travel weight of just over a kilo. So 1.08 kilos there, but the cable, our charger, and then the stylus to give us our true full-in carry weight here of 1.23 kilos, which is excellent for a large 13.2-inch sized tablet. And our thickness now with the keyboard and the kickstand is 12.5 millimeters measuring here. Now, one very cool feature with this keyboard is because it's wireless, the connection to it, that I can use it with not even having it connected up to it. So it's got the magnets that hold it into place. That's to charge it, but the connection is all wireless. You can see as I touch the touchpad now, the cursor's moving about on the screen, okay? So I'll just go and select my browser right here, and I'm able to use this, use the gestures. Everything, of course, is working, and then I can just go along here and type at the top. bbc.com, for example. So it means it's very flexible that I could just prop it up on the kickstand and then use this keyboard here from a distance. This tablet is running Harmony OS. It's version 4.0. Now, I'll just quickly show you that I've been doing a little bit of multitasking here with floating windows that you can run, which are absolutely fantastic for multitasking. Very good for that. So I'll bring up settings, which is just a little tiny box here. I can resize this as I wish. Move it around, make it full screen if I want to. So you just tap here to make that full screen. And you can see I've got 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage, which you normally have around, just off the top of my head, about 470 something, 480 free on first boot. Remember, there's no micro SD card support. Now, the chipset it does run, it's the Kirin 9000S. It is dated, and this is one of the bigger cons, I think, of this tablet, is while everything is flagship level, the chipset to me is, well, it's mid-range now, the performance you get, compared to, say, a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 or the Gen 3. It is like a mid-range kind of performance, but more on that shortly. So with those floating windows, you can run applications that do support it. So if I decide that, okay, I want my Google Books here, and yes, you can run Google Books. I want that in a little window, then I can do that for the apps that support it. Now, if I wanted to run, for example, Netflix, which I have here installed, that I don't think will allow it. It probably won't. It depends on the app. So no, Netflix will not let me run that in a window. But everything else here you see I can. So I have app gallery. I can then bring that up into these windows. And so that's why it's really good for multitasking, because you can size them how you want. And you can have up to 5 different windows here, swap between them. And you can even go and put them into the side here to store them away, like a little quick task manager there, for ease of swapping over to them. You can see now I can switch between those. So how am I running some G apps here? You can see that, okay, I've got Google Books. That does require GMS. This is, of course, HMS. Well, there is a workaround, which is called this right here, Gbox. And that's running a virtual machine kind of setup, and it's emulating something that will allow us to run then GApps. So that's the workaround for it. So I've got Gmail there, my Google apps that I do need. You can even run things like maps that are going to work. But Huawei has you sorted with alternatives as well. Now, in App Gallery, which I want to run now in full screen, okay, bring that up. If you want to search for a application up here, one of your favorite ones, you just need to type that in, or you can search it, and it will point you where you need to install it. It either be from them, from their App Gallery, otherwise it will find where you can get the APK file off a third-party site so you can then install it. And I recommend you run applications if you can natively, so not through GApps. Only if you need the Google GMS should you be running them through that. I'll just bring that up and you can see some of the apps I do have here. So yeah, Play Store, I can bring that up. And you see, there we go. There is Play Store and I can install all your typical apps. I've got the full library available to me, but because this is being emulated, it does have a little bit of an impact on the battery life and the performance slightly. So that's why you want to run the apps natively. So I can run all I want on this tablet, not a problem anymore, even with HMS. Harmony OS performance has been excellent for me. I've had no real issues. I don't see any lag. Now I do have the smart resolution off, so I'm at the top resolution here. Screen refresh rate, I have up to 144 Hertz. You can put it to 120 if you want. And there is dynamic, which is by default. Now, the gestures all working well. Performance is excellent. I don't really have any problems at all. Now, when you first get it, there is a bit of bloat, you can see. So we've got booking.com. They have a few other things. We've got these placeholders for applications that aren't actually installed. You see these ones here? But you need to go along and remove that, which is a little bit of a hassle. It takes you about 5-10 minutes or so to clean it up, to get rid of that. And I wish that they wouldn't pre-install those kind of things. So it does have a widevine level cert. And that means, as I talked about before, like Netflix, unfortunately not recognizing this. So it's in standard definition. Amazon Prime Video is in 1080p. And a few others are as well. So the performance here with our MatePad Pro 13.2 is, when you see the Antutu score, this is mid-range now. This is, okay, not flagship performance really, and this is the disappointing, and for me the big con of this tablet is its dated chipset. It is using the Kirin 9000S. Obviously Huawei has had issues trying to get hold of. I just thought that this would probably come with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus, like the P60 Pro, but it seems no, they must have supply issues, or they just decided that this is sufficient enough performance for a tablet like this. So mid-range kind of performance there. Now, battery life, this is forced to the 144 Hertz and smart resolution off, around about 7 hours with my fixed test here. You can squeeze out a little bit more if you use the dynamic refresh rate and the smart resolution on. You should be able to get up to around about almost 8 hours out of the 10,100 milliamp hour battery that is within this tablet. And this is our storage performance, which I think this is UFS 3.0, similar kind of speeds to that. That it's good. It's not bad at all. Random reads and writes aren't bad. That's not what is going to be slowing down the system at all. What will be would probably be the chipset. And finally, charging time. It's about, as I mentioned, it's going to take you around 40 minutes to get to 85%. And when I tested it here, well, it was about 48 to get to 91. And to fully charge is 65 minutes. The other great thing of this tablet is the stylus. I think it is a really good stylus here. Look at this latency. Now, they don't actually give us a figure for the latency. I'm not too sure why, but it's incredibly quick here. I'm in bamboo paper, and just look at this. When I start to scribble, it is instantaneous. I can't get it to lag behind at all. Well, not what I'm currently doing here, which is quite, of course, lightweight. So just to get rid of all of that right now. And you see just how fast this really is. Now, it does have the 10,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. Now, I've got no means to measure if it is exactly 10,000, but I'll start out as light as possible here, start to press down harder and harder as I go. And you can see that is changing, coming through, although I don't know whether the application will have the full set of the 10,000 pressure points. Now, writing on it is very, very good. It is incredibly quick and fluid and smooth. The writing feeling of it, well, it's not like pen on paper. This is still a glass that is covering the top here, scratch-resistant glass, and we have the plastic tip on the end of it. So it still feels quite smooth, although there is a tiny bit of resistance to it there. It is incredibly quick. Now, there is a limit to how close we can get to the edge of the bezel. You see, it's about 1 millimeter, okay? See that? That's as far as I can go. There's always going to be that millimeter, which is not bad. And I'll just do a couple of tests here as well. Just that latency is the best part about it. So near link is supposed to be 60% more efficient and 6 times more bandwidth. It is incredibly quick, and it seems to be a great stylus with great tech behind it. How about gaming performance? So testing out Genshin Impact, this is set to the highest possible settings at 60 frames per second. The game is playable, but you can see this area in the map just inserted in parts of it with these enemies here that you will notice the occasional frame dip. It's more obvious with this chipset. So our Kirin 9000S, even with the 12 gigabytes of RAM, does offer decent performance for gaming, but it isn't the absolute best. It's not flagship level. It's really at the equivalent of, say, a Snapdragon 888, but it can play all of those titles out there that you do like, which is the main thing. I just wish it had a more powerful chipset within it. So the speakers are another really good positive thing about this tablet. It's so slim at 5.5 millimeters, but it has the 6 speakers. So you get 4 woofers, 2 tweeters, and you've got a good range there. So you get a bit of bass, you get those mids, and you get the highs too with it. And YouTube, which I'm using right now, this is working just fine, okay? Not a problem. Using Gbox. It's going through Gbox in order for me to, of course, have YouTube here. So the videos, when I just go into them, the resolution that you can set with them, I'll just quickly show you here. And there are options we do get. So settings, you can go up to here, the higher picture quality. Okay, so that's going to change it. And that, I believe, tops out at just 1080p. You can see, we're just there, 1080p, all right? And on full screen that, it is going to be playing just fine. So YouTube's working great. So I'll go into a track from NCS, which is no copyright songs, just so we can hear those speakers at 100% volume. They sound really good, as you'll hear. So briefly, let's have a look at the cameras that you get with the MatePad. So this is the front-facing camera, and we have a 1080p with electronic image stabilization. No 4K with the front-facing camera, but that doesn't really matter, I don't think, for a tablet. I think most people will be happy with 1080p. This quality's alright, so it's going to be good for, say, things like Zoom, Skype, whatnot, that you may be using, or WhatsApp video calls. This is now 4K video with that main camera. And it does not have any electronic image stabilization, shakes about a bit. The quality is quite average, as you can see, not really that good. Then some camera samples. So the front-facing 16 megapixel camera is the best camera. It makes sense in a tablet. This is the ultra-wide, which is, yeah, not that great. That 8 megapixel sensor. Here is our main 13 megapixel rear camera, portrait shot. This is another main camera shot, which again is not that good. And quite oversaturated this shot here. So your phone will take better photos, I'm sure. So all up, it is a very good tablet. Like, I mean, this display is just such a joy to use. That brightness, the contrast, and just the saturation and the deep blacks and everything of it are fantastic. You can even use it out in direct sunlight. It is that bright, the screen. And I really do think it is the best tablet screen that I have used. 144 Hertz, well, up to that with our refresh rate, so it is very smooth. Now that Kirin 9000S, yes, it's a dated chipset, and that really is, for me, the component, the part that does let this otherwise stunning tablet here down a little bit, because the performance in 2000, very late now, 2023, we're almost in 2024, I just think is more like mid-range. When you look at synthetic benchmarks, it is now what I would classify as a mid-range chipset, which is why if this particular tablet here has something like, say, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 even, I would really be behind it, because then it would have the performance to back up the rest of it. I mean, the whole package is very good. Now, if you don't game, you probably won't even notice what I'm talking about here. The performance of it, don't get me wrong, is still very good. It is very fluid, it's fast for all your day-to-day tablet needs, multitasking, all that. It is excellent, but when you push it with a lot of windows open, or you play a super demanding game like I showed you, Genshin Impact, that is when you start to notice that, hang on, this chipset is a little bit dated now, and I just feel to do this tablet real justice, it should have something a little bit more modern. And I do hope and cross my fingers that Huawei will have a refresh of this model next year with a much better chipset. So I'm going to be waiting out for that. But the keyboard to type on is very good. I have a very minor nitpick with the keyboard that sometimes when you go to put it on, you might accidentally misalign it, that you probably saw me do in this video. And I just feel that the magnet should be just a little bit stronger there. The kickstand magnet is pretty good. I mean, you can hold it up by the kickstand. I wouldn't shake it about too much. That is fine. The keyboard isn't backlit. I know some of the competitors out there do have the type covers that are backlit. We don't have video out as well from this model or micro SD card support. But in general, I really like what I'm seeing here with that screen especially. The 3D face unlocking is very nice to have too as well, so it's more secure than 2D. It tends to work really well unlocking it. And the stylus performance, the new M Pencil, the 3rd generation with Nearlink, you get that reduced latency, so it's very fast as I showed you. It doesn't seem to lag at all, and I can't see, when I'm writing, I can't see it lagging behind the stylus. Accuracy is also very good of this pen, so there's a lot of good in here. It is really just for me that chipset. I hope, as I just talked about, that they can update that. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the MatePad Pro 13.2 from Huawei.